I could take defeats like yours and laugh. I've done it. If you're broken, it's because you're brittle.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 historical royal women who deserve their own show.
Já falei que vassalagem só se pode exigir de uma nação submetida. Ndongo é reino soberano.
And she said, well, I am a chieftain. I have earned my right to be a chieftain, and if the law doesn't like it, well, then that's tough on the law.
Que yo, Isabel, soy la reina de Castilla. Y solo Dios podrá apartarme de este trono.
For this list, we'll be looking at some amazing royal women with stories we'd love to binge watch as new TV shows. Are you a history lover with a queenly stand we haven't covered? Tell us about her in the comments. Number 10. Catherine Howard. The messy marriages of Henry VIII are famous, but Catherine Howard, fifth and youngest of his wives, has often been treated like a footnote in the saga.
What has he told them? Why are you crying like this? It's not about you!
Catherine is generally remembered as the pretty bimbo who was dumb enough to have an affair and lose her head as a result. But there is more to explore in her story. Catherine became sexually active at a young age in an event that may not have been consensual, and spent her entire life being controlled by the various men around her.
Why? Why must I stay here? Please tell me. I don't understand.
Even her relationship with Thomas Culpeper, which she died for, may have been more coercion than passion.
He used importunate force against me.
Catherine was a vivacious young woman desperate for agency, and we owe her a closer look. Number 9. Isabella I of Castile and Aragon. Between backing Columbus and that whole Spanish Inquisition thing, Isabella has a lot to answer for. But that doesn't make her any less fascinating. Raised in financially insecure isolation with a mother who battled depression, Isabella's stressful youth was punctuated by her older half-brother using her as a pawn to strengthen his grip on power.
Cada día son más las ciudades leales al rey que están descontentas. Gobierna el desorden, cuando no lo hacen Pacheco y sus secuaces.
Still, Isabella managed to secretly broker her own marriage to Ferdinand of Aragon, and later pressed her claim on the throne in a bloody succession war.
Se está mostrando detrás de la espada que simboliza la justicia. Eso significa que será ella quien imponga penas y castigos.
¿De qué os extrañáis?
Eso nunca lo ha hecho una mujer.
Entonces es que iba siendo hora.
For better or worse, she would become one of the most influential rulers in Spanish history. Isabella is a dynamic, complicated figure, and the story of how she became the woman we know is one with all kinds of dramatic potential.
Porque todos en este reino tienen que tener algo muy claro. Que yo, Isabel, soy la reina de Castilla. Y solo Dios podrá apartarme de este trono.
Number 8. Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor would be a hellraiser by the standards of the modern world, let alone in her own time.
I'd hang you from the nipples, but you'd shock the children.
She started with lands and titles all her own before marrying Louis VII, future King of France, whom she later ditched for Henry II, future King of England. In between, she took some time to ride at the head of the French Crusade forces.
I dressed my maids as Amazons and rode bare-breasted halfway to Damascus. Louis had a seizure and I damn near died of windburn. But the troops were dazzled.
Her marriage with Henry was tumultuous, to say the least, and bottomed out when she was accused of trying to help their sons overthrow him. But Eleanor would survive the fallout, and her husband, and exercise political influence in England for years to come. Fiery, brilliant, and way ahead of her time, Eleanor was a modern heroine who lived in a medieval world. Sounds like TV gold.
I could take defeats like yours and laugh. I've done it. If you're broken, it's because you're brittle.
Number 7. Grace O'Malley. There's Queen, and then there's Pirate Queen. That's next level cool. Grace O'Malley was technically a chieftain, but the point stands.
In Gaelic Ireland, no woman could become a chieftain. But Grace O'Malley simply took what was denied her by law, and she said, well, I am a chieftain. I have earned my right to be a chieftain, and if the law doesn't like it, well, then that's tough on the law.
As the head of the most powerful seafaring clan in Ireland, O'Malley would grow her own wealth and political influence by squaring off against rival clans and plundering merchant vessels. However, Grace's greatest legacy was as a rebel. In the face of the ever-increasing English threats to her rights and property, Grace led her fleet against the foreign usurpers and their local allies. Eventually, she even sailed to England and demanded a face-to-face with Queen Elizabeth I, which she received.
From the accounts of the court secretary, when she came before Elizabeth, Grace had the audacity not to bow down as her subject, but to hold her head high, as though she were the Queen's equal.
Grace's incredible life story screams for a TV show, but that scene especially, we're dying to see.
There's no doubt that these two formidable women saw eye to eye. Retiring to sit by the fire, they chatted like two old ladies about their parallel lives and about having to overcome the jealousies of powerful and petty men.
Number 6. Theodora of Byzantium. Long before Grace Kelly, there was Theodora.
Theodora.
Born to a showbiz family, Theodora was a teenage stage star before leaving home for a series of misadventures. When she landed in Constantinople, she caught the eye of Justinian, heir to the emperor, who was so smitten by Theodora that he had the law changed so that he could marry her in spite of her unconventional background. It was the smartest thing he ever did.
There is not a minute to lose! Into the stables and defend yourselves there! Follow me!
Not only did Theodora save his throne during the Nika riots, but she co-governed with Justinian so effectively that many people consider Theodora the actual ruler of the empire. She also championed women's rights and, under her influence, Justinian passed laws to promote them. Theodora is the heroine we need. Number 5. Catherine I. Historically overshadowed by Catherine the Great, it's high time that Russia's first Catherine got the recognition she deserves. It's the best Cinderella story you've never heard. Catherine was born a peasant, raised as a maid, and ended up in the household of a Russian nobleman and friend of some guy named Peter the Great.
Emperor Peter of Russia.
Not only did Catherine and Peter fall truly and passionately in love, but Peter would eventually marry Catherine, elevating a commoner to Empress and treating her as his co-regent, which she rocked at. When Peter died, it was Catherine who succeeded him, starting an era in Russian history dominated by kick-ass women and using her position to work for the common people.
One where we trust in each other, knowing we are bonded by our love for Russia and our joy in a brand new future.
Now that's worthy of the term great. Number 4. Empress Dowager Cixi. Cixi entered the Chinese royal family in a system that gave little power to women and wound up running the entire show. Though she started in the 6th tier of the Xianfeng Emperor's consorts, through a combination of luck and wits, she gradually worked her way up to rank 2nd only to the Empress.
You must come to Oxford with me.
I like him.
On the way, she became a self-taught master political strategist, and when the emperor died, was quick to propose a joint regency arrangement between the two women.
The secondary consort welcomes the Empress.
The Empress greets the secondary consort.
After a time, though, she consolidated her own power and became the de facto ruler of China, a position she held onto until the end of her life.
I have decided that you will be the new lord of 10,000 years. You will be the son of heaven.
Her legacy itself might be a source of debate, but no one can argue that her story isn't incredible. Number 3. Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. Nothing about Nzinga was typical, not the comprehensive education she was given, and not the way she wielded it to help her country. When her brother's military efforts failed against the Portuguese invaders, Nzinga's considerable diplomatic acumen ensured Ndongo's sovereignty and independence.
Faça ao pensar também na questão da vassalagem e do órgão tributo ao rei de Portugal.
Já falei que vassalagem só se pode exigir de uma nação submetida. Ndongo é um reino soberano.
It was a harbinger of things to come. She succeeded her brother to the throne, and she would spend the rest of her life balancing diplomatic relationships with European colonizers and leading her forces in combat when more aggressive negotiations were called for.
Apontar! Disparar! Avançar!
Her strength and skill were credited as the foundation by which Angola continued to resist colonialism even into the 20th century.
Mesmo quando meu corpo morrer, meu espírito continuará vivo nesse chão. Para dar confronto a todos os invasores e traidores.
She's a national hero to her own people and definitely deserves to become a hero to the world. Number 2, Ka'iulani. Hawaii is a paradise with a turbulent past. The daughter of a native princess and a Scottish businessman, Ka'iulani personified the contrasting elements struggling for control of the Isles at the turn of the 20th century. When American corporate interests threatened their sovereignty, she used her unique position as the bridge between worlds to fight for her homeland.
I, a young, inexperienced girl with not one of my people near me, and all of these statesmen against me, have chosen to stand up for the rights of my people.
While her equally impressive aunt, Queen Liliuokalani, fought for the rights of the Hawaiian people from the Iolani Palace, Ka'iulani took their case to the American people, even meeting with President Grover Cleveland.
Well, Princess, I only have 4 weeks left in office, but I promise to do what I can to halt the use of cumin. You'll need to get your spices in order quickly, young lady.
Unfortunately, it was a lost cause, and she would tragically pass away soon after Hawaii's annexation by the USA. But her strength continues to be an inspiration.
The flame of our great chiefess burns brightly in the soul of our nation.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Archduchess Maria Cristina and Princess Isabella of Parma, Holy Roman Empire. Mary the Heir, fall in love with his sister, the star-crossed LGBTQ+ romance we need. Margaret Beaufort, England, a player and winner in the real-life Game of Thrones.
The king should be sending for his lords. He should be marshalling his forces, but instead he sends for his mother. Who rules us, him or you?
Hatshepsut, Egypt. Her legacy remained even after her successors tried to erase her.
And here we have a woman, Hatshepsut, who did everything right, who was incredibly successful, and yet no one can pronounce her name. And she's the one that nobody tells tales about because it's not in a patriarchal society's best interest to tell those tales.
Amina, modern-day Nigeria. She made her name as a fierce cavalry warrior and became a mighty conqueror. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Cleopatra. We know what you're thinking. Cleopatra has never lacked attention. But Egypt's most famous ruler has never been given a portrayal that's truly worthy of her.
I never wanted to harm you.
Of course you did not.
Far from just a simmering sexpot with famous boyfriends, Cleopatra was highly educated and a savvy politician with Egypt's interests at heart.
You are Egypt. How could I replace you?
I am content. We shall be good friends.
She honed her skills on the way to the throne in a family with a habit of betraying and murdering each other, and then used her brains, and yes, her relationships, to stave off Roman domination of her kingdom.
On your knees. You dare ask the proconsul of the Roman Empire?
I asked it of Julius Caesar. I demand it of you.
Even at the bitter end, Cleopatra made sure she went out on her own terms. Her name is known around the world. It's time that a story did justice to the woman she was. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.